How many of these guys do you actually have? Because I looked and I couldn't find all of them.
21 of them. There's another set up there.
Okay, because there was another couple in a box over there that I just didn't want to rifle through.
Probably 24 then.
Ooh, you got problems.
You don't know that. You don't know that.
Hello, everybody. I am Ian. This is Space Marine Steve, and today we are talking about Bladeguard and how to bring out the best of these shield and sword, these sword and board boys.
I love them, Ian.
They are awesome. We're going to go over a couple of the more interesting things that you can do with the Bladeguard. Things like adding special characters. How do you get them to do what they're supposed to do? Regular characters. What are the strats? What are the detachments? We want to encompass everything that can possibly happen with Bladeguard so that you're fully informed on how to use them on the tabletop.
They're a great unit that honestly I don't see played enough.
And if you want to see more of this content, like and subscribe.
And comment. What do you use Bladeguard for? Have you ever used Bladeguard before? Have you played against them? What do you think? Let's just talk, I guess, about what they're about. So what Bladeguard are about.
Their strengths and their weaknesses. What do you think their greatest strength is? And I think it's pretty obvious. Shooting, yeah.
I think that their pistols are best.
Honestly, their pistols aren't bad.
Their pistols aren't bad.
Well, that's a joke. Of course, they're good at close combat and a 4-up invuln save.
They have so many swords.
And they're 90 points for 9 wounds. So it's like 10 points a wound, which is actually so cheap. Pretty decent.
So they're good at fighting. They're cheap. I love them. They got 4-up invuls. Yes. All of them. They're rocking big old storm relic shield things. They've also got 3 wounds apiece.
Which is awesome.
Yeah, it's phenomenal. Yeah. What don't they do well, though?
Well, they don't shoot well.
Obviously.
Without support from characters or stratagems, they can also whiff pretty hard in close combat.
They can.
They have a decent amount of attacks, but if it's not dedicated towards the perfect thing that they're supposed to be attacking, they can whiff pretty hard, and they have a hard time punching up.
They do have a really hard time punching up. Also, unlike some of the characters that take their close combat and hit on 2s, Bladeguard Veterans are, of course, locked on like the classic 3-up to hit, right? And so, like, they really need like the oath support.
Yes,
right?
they rely on oath support.
They really need the oath support. They can't function super well without it because they've only got 4 attacks apiece. It's a good attack, but only 4 apiece.
Their special rule, their close combat only special rule, which is
phase locked. They're phase locked.
They're phase locked in close combat. That's a great way to put it. Is you can either choose at the start of the fight phase re-rolling 1s to hit or re-rolling 1s to your armor save. Now,
just saves.
That is super important for a lot of characters that can potentially join them.
Oh yeah,
because a lot of characters get a big bonus out of rolling a ton of attacks and hitting on 2s, which makes their characters really strong, and it also adds durability to the unit, which is something that they sort of lack. Being toughness 4. That hurts them being toughness 4.
That hurts them being toughness 4.
I wish they were toughness 5.
They are just a Marine. So you got to shore that up kind of somehow. And like you said, character is kind of a good way to do that. So where do you start when you're looking at characters to put into these?
Well, there's plenty of different characters that can join this unit, and a ton of named characters as well. We have Captain, we have the Judicar, we have Lieutenant, we have Chaplains.
All really good. Chaplain actually kind of helps them pump.
Chaplain, big time, yep. And the Bladeguard Ancient, which is can only go in their unit. Gives them objective controlled and once per game an additional attack.
Yeah, which is really nice.
So of those characters, of the basic characters, what really calls out to you? You already mentioned the Chaplain.
Yeah, the Chaplain I like because it gets the +1 to wound, which is really important because their attacks are only strength 5. So it lets them go into bigger targets.
Yeah.
And then where they would be wounding on 5s, they're now wounding on 4s. Helps them punch up. It's great. Chaplain's no slouch by himself too, right? Other than that, though, I actually really like a Captain. And the reason I really like a Captain is because I think he benefits the most from their reroll abilities.
Yes.
Right? Because he's hitting on 2s. He's got maybe a Power Fist or something like that, or a big Relic Blade. He's going to be doing lots of damage. He also gives them free strats. And you can have one of these and a Captain. You can attach this model to the above unit, even if one Captain, Chapter Master, or Lieutenant model has already been attached to it.
Does that mean you can have him, a Lieutenant, and a Captain?
I don't think so.
What does Lieutenant
because
say?
It says until above unit, even if one Captain, Chapter Master, or Lieutenant model.
Okay.
I would read it as conservatively as possible. I think you get 2 characters into a unit at maximum.
Yep.
But you know what? I like the captain, or any of those actually work really well. I think the ancient can go with it.
OC2, extra attack on the unit once.
Feels
That's
good.
good. And he's just kind of a blot of wounds after that.
Yeah, he's like 40 points. He's the cheapest character in the book.
Very, very cheap. And you can give him an enhancement.
Yeah.
And then you can have somebody else join the unit and give them an enhancement too.
Yeah. Or you can put in a special character, which we can talk about here in a second.
That's true.
And then he can have an enhancement at the same time.
I do want to just hit up the Judicar, Judiciar. Or
Is that your favorite?
No, I just think it's an interesting addition because it essentially gives them first strike, right?
Yeah, they get fights first.
Which can be a weird combination. We want to kind of talk about every available option, and fights first with this unit is kind of interesting.
That is silly. Which one's your favorite?
I would go with the lieutenant just for the cheapness.
Yeah,
I
keep
like
them cheap.
I like lethal hits.
Yeah, it's always good.
If you give them Oath a Moment, they're going to be rerolling those lethal hits, just trying to plink away, which means they can punch up. It gives them options to punch up.
I like that.
Sadly, it's only on 6s, but there's a chance.
There's a chance. I mean, also, depending on what detachment you're in, you can throw an enhancement on the lieutenant, make him really baller, just get in there, mess some stuff up.
Yep, and the lieutenant can pretty much take anything. So
yeah, which is great. So, yeah, I like that.
You said you kind of dig the captain in this.
I like the captain. I just think the captain hits the hardest, and I love myself free strats.
Yeah. How do you get them to where they need and want to be? You have to either take them in a transport land raider, an impulsor, a repulsor executioner. They can go in a drop pod.
Drop pods. You can do the drop pods. You can have 3 squads in a drop pod, and that lieutenant you love.
It's terrible.
Right? No, it's fine. You just drop pod, all 3 of them get out, and you get 3 chances for the 9-inch charge.
Awful. You can you can deep strike them. You can deep strike them with Uriel Ventress. And you can also just do the regular, like, rapid ingress or come in.
Rapid ingress the pod, turn 1.
What? I don't think you can you?
Why
turn
not?
1?
Why not? It gets to deep strike turn 1, can't it? And then the other pod will be playing Dark Angels for the, like, Dark Angel brand version of these.
Oh,
and I'll boom, another 3.
What are those guys? Sword
Brethren?
Brethren?
No, that's the Black Templar version. There's a Dark Angels version that come in, like, squads of 3. I think they're, like, Sword Brothers. That's not.
They're not Sword Brethren. They're Sword Brothers.
I don't know what to call.
All right, Space Marines.
Shadow.
You're not.
What are they? Getting a box.
I thought you're supposed to be the Space Marine guy.
Don't worry about it.
Aren't you supposed to be the Space Marine guy?
Champion. It's even dumber than I thought.
What is it?
Inner Circle Champions. That's what they are.
Inner Circle Champions.
Do you remember this? Right? You remember these? Yeah, Inner Circle Champions. So, anyways, it's going to be a drop pod with 9 of them.
I'm done with it.
So it's going to be 2 pods.
Yay. Enough fooling around.
Okay, it's fine.
Get down to some of the named characters. And I do have favorite named characters. Some of them are just because I'm biased and I like my little guys. But some of them are just downright incredible. The guy who's the best for sure is Calgar.
Without question.
He essentially adds 2 more to the unit and his Vitrix Guard.
And they hit on 2s.
It gives them advance and charge.
Fall back and charge.
Fall back and charge. He gives you CP every turn, and he hits like a steam truck.
They can even advance and shoot other dope guns.
Their pistols. I mean, he's a stellar choice.
He's a stellar choice.
But some way cheaper options. There's 2 that I like the most. Ragnar Blackmane, absurd amount of charge damage, and with them he'll be rerolling 1s, which is 10 attacks, strength 10 minus 2, I think, damage 2.
Wicked.
And he gives them advance and charge as well.
Ragnar, 3 of them, and then the and then the champion in there. Yeah. The crappy thing about the ancient is that the ancient doesn't have a sword. He's got a quote close combat weapon.
But he does give everyone in the unit +1. So Ragnar would get an additional +1.
Yeah, he gets an extra attack, which is great, right? And then on top of that too, he gives the whole thing +1 OC, which is great.
Which is real good.
And he's 40 points. Like, let's be real.
Super cheap. Yeah. So Ragnar, tons of attacks and advance and charge, which is huge.
He's your fave. He's your max out.
I think he's my favorite because he allows them to get there, which is, I think, their biggest hurdle is trying to get into combat. Because if they're running up the table all day, it won't matter.
Yep, you're right.
The other one is Khan because he gives them lance.
Oh yeah. Oh.
And these guys will struggle dealing with characters. And Khan can fix that problem because all of his attacks are precision.
Which is awesome.
Yeah, precision and, I believe, devastating wounds.
really good.
With Lance, he boosts the squad up pretty
Very
good.
good.
Yeah.
So my favorite special character to put with them is not like the best one, but I love it because he mimics one of the standard bearers attacks. It's Pedro Cantor.
Yes.
So you put Pedro Cantor in a squad of like 6 of them or something like that.
Yep.
With the guy, and then you trigger Pedro Cantor's like everybody gets an extra attack, and then you trigger this guy, everybody gets an extra attack.
Yeah.
And suddenly they're slinging like 36 attacks or something,
Which is like enough.
would definitely enough. And then too, like as they lose guys, they get better. So like Pedro Cantor makes them better as they're losing dudes.
Yes.
Because I think it's like if they're less than full, they're like +1 to hit, and if they're less than half, they're also +1 to wound.
Yeah.
Right. And what that means is you can combine that with some really clever, detachment uses and stuff like that. Have these guys bomb out of honestly, like a repulsor is a great choice to haul around that unit, or a land raider's excellent. Right. So all that's really awesome. They can bomb out of that, kill stuff. Pedro Cantor's no slouch. Definitely. He's right there.
Gross. Adrax Agatone. This is a really interesting addition because he also gives them bonuses to wound.
Yeah.
He's absolute beast himself.
Yeah. The hammer.
But he halves your opponent's OC, which makes this unit plus this guy seems to be. We're talking about this guy a lot. It makes him really strong.
Yeah. Really strong.
Because not only are you nerfing your opponent's OC,
yeah.
you're boosting your own OC.
Yeah, it's awesome.
Which is crazy good.
It's very good.
Last and certainly never least, Tigerius, which I think is a strange addition to this because they are a close combat unit, but he gives them a couple free strats, -1 to be hit, which is really valuable because one of their weaknesses is just toughness 4.
Yeah, they're toughness 4.
And he also allows them to be a bit of a shooting threat because his firepower is pretty impressive.
It is, yeah. So he actually gives them the ability to be still a threat at range because you can overcharge his, like Warp Storm ability or Emperor's Storm or whatever it's called, and he shoots 2d6 times, and he can sit across the table. And if you need them to sit on an objective, he can still be a threat at range, and they don't feel more like useless.
Yeah,
right.
And allowing them to have a 0 to 0 out a couple different strats.
Yeah,
One of them is just like go to ground. So you could be like,
great.
our whole unit is -1 to be hit, and we're going to 0 out go to ground. And that increases their toughness by quite a bit, which is why he's kind of a unique but still powerful addition.
Yeah,
He's
totally.
not bad in combat either. The
Yeah,
staff
no slouch. He's also cheap. He's like 70 points or something like that.
right.
75
Yeah,
points,
75
right?
points. Yeah, he's a steal.
He's a steal. But personally, my heart always goes to something that also slaps in close combat. I think Calgar is obviously the choice, but if you're not playing that or you don't want to, as we said, lots of great options.
Yeah, pretty much every option that goes in there gives them a unique way to address problems on the battlefield.
That's great.
Yeah, they're a very versatile unit just for that.
Phenomenal unit.
One detachment that I think always shines no matter what you're doing, Gladius Strike Force.
Phenomenal.
The ability for these guys to advance and charge, fall back charge, that's what they need, right? They need that little extra boost to get in.
Yeah.
And there's strats that work for them too. Honor the Chapter for Lance.
Very good.
It's huge. That's something that they definitely need.
They need to punch up.
They need to punch up, and that's a great way for them to
Phenomenal way to do
access
it.
that.
I do it all the time with my Ultramarines list with Calgar, the Victor's Guard, and them. They slam into something, honor the Chapter, whatever that thing is, it's dead. It's dead. It's super dead.
Yeah. And if you're wanting to get a little tricky with them, you can use squad tactics as well.
Oh, yeah.
And squad tactics works in such an interesting way. I know we were talking about this before we started. If you just need to roadblock your opponent, you could just squad tactics your guys forward.
Yep.
So that they get completely blocked.
Yeah.
And they're like, okay, now my charge is 2 inches, but I'm just going to hit this wall of Bladeguard, not go anywhere. Your objective is still back here, and it's safe.
And that is made that much more dangerous if you've paired that unit with a Judicar.
Exactly.
Right?
Because then if they do get charged, you fight first anyways.
Exactly. It's phenomenal.
Yeah. And also you can just use it to run away if whatever's coming at you is throwing -1 damage, damage 3, -1 damage.
Yeah.
Yeah, any damage 3 stuff, these guys
That's bad, yeah.
Gotta be careful. The Firestorm detachment gives them a stratagem for +1 to wound as well.
Yeah,
targeting
very
a
good.
unit within 6 inches, which is great for these
Yeah,
guys.
not a bad choice.
That's what they need is the ability to punch up.
Yep.
The Vanguard Spearhead,
Everything works.
calculated feint, which I think is kind of interesting. You can avoid being charged. It's essentially the same thing as squad tactics, but it works when you are chosen as a charge.
You get to back off.
You can move around, which
very cool.
makes these guys a super threat.
Yeah.
So all you have to do is go, okay, I'm going to just move just so I'm 12 inches and 1/8 of an inch away. Now they are no longer possibly going to get charged, I guess 13 inches away.
Yeah. There's also lots of jank that you can do with that strat as well. And it's just phenomenal.
Yeah. And that keeps them safe and then allows them to initiate the countercharge on the following turn.
It's awesome.
And then the Stormlance Task Force gives them advance and charge.
Yeah, that's exactly what they want. That's what, honestly, the double pod thing that we talked about earlier, where you're going to lose to that, that's probably what that's going to come into, right? Yep. They'll both slam down, they'll get out, rapid ingress, right? My turn, right? Then what'll happen is we'll just, advance out and hit your whole thing, and then boom, you're dead.
Stormlance Task Force also has a squad tactics style thing. It's essentially the same, except they move 6, not a roll.
Win swift evasion. Yes. I know it well.
It's so good. First Company Task Force. Now, you've used First Company before.
Yeah.
Did you load out a lot of Bladeguard in that list?
No, it was mostly Terminators when I tried it, but honestly, any of the vets work really well in that detachment, and all the strats basically work for all the vets, and it's just decent. I don't know how good the detachment is overall, but if you're looking to push Bladeguard to their limits, that could be one of the homes for it. But I think if I were to pick one as kind of my end-all be-all for where Bladeguard fit the best, I love the Gladius. You get a turn of advance and charge. You got really good strat support. I think it's where they live.
Yeah, they definitely shine in that. And with the addition of Tigerius and Calgar,
yeah,
you don't have to put them in list building. You don't have to put those characters in there.
No.
You put that when you deploy.
Yeah.
So you could just take a look at your opponent's army and go, okay, Calgar's going to go in something else.
Exactly.
And Tigerius is going to go in something else. So you get your bonuses in different ways out of those guys, which I think is really cool.
All in all, the Bladeguard are, in my opinion, underused in the grander scheme of things.
For sure.
I would love to see more people using them. I'd also love to hear what your ideas are on how to make these boys shine. I want to put more of them on the tabletop, play more of them that we have here in the studio. And so tell us how you do it. And let's talk about it. Let's really break them. I'm really pumped about it.
Yeah, let's figure this out.
Let's figure this out. From all of us here at Hyperspace Hobbies, myself, and of course, Ian, have yourselves a great night.